Welcome to Echo No More, clear, credible, court-ready documentation in high-conflict parenting. No hype, no legal jargon, no drama. I'm Dr. James. If you're new here, I'm really glad you found this space. This podcast is for protective parents navigating high-conflict custody situations, especially when the other parent is manipulative, emotionally unsafe, or unpredictable. I'm not a lawyer, and this podcast isn't legal advice. What I am is a parent who has lived through this system, and someone whose attorneys over and over again told me the same thing. Your documentation is excellent. They told me it made their job easier. They told me it protected my credibility. And they told me it changed how my case was received. That's why I'm sharing this. Not to teach you how to fight, but how to document calmly, clearly, and in a way courts actually understand. This is parent to parent, calm, grounded, and focused on protecting your child without losing yourself. I want to start today by saying something I wish someone had said to me early on. If documentation feels hard, confusing, or overwhelming, that does not mean you're doing it wrong. Most parents think they are failing at documentation because they can't seem to get it together. But in reality, documentation feels hard because you're being asked to do something that goes against how your nervous system is currently wired. Let's talk about what's actually happening. When you're dealing with a high conflict or emotionally unsafe co-parent, your brain is not operating in calm, logical mode. It's operating in threat detection mode. You're scanning constantly. What just happened? What did that mean? Am I missing something? What if this matters later? What if no one believes me? That constant vigilance doesn't turn off just because someone says, make sure you document. So you sit down to write, and suddenly everything feels important. Nothing feels clear. You don't know what to leave out. You don't trust your own judgment. That's not a personal failure. That's a nervous system under stress. One of the biggest lies protective parents internalize is this: if I were calmer, I'd be better at this. But the truth is the opposite. If you had better structure, you would feel calmer. When my lawyers first reviewed my documentation, they didn't praise it because it was emotional or detailed or eloquent. They praised it because it was consistent. And consistency does not come from effort. It comes from having a system. Before I had structure, documentation felt like trying to cut water with my hands. After I had structure, it felt like putting things into labeled containers. That's the difference we are building here. Another reason documentation feels hard is because parents think they are supposed to tell the whole story, explain the full history, make sure the reader understands how bad it really was. But court documentation is not a memoir. It's not a confession. It's not a defense of your character. It's a record. And records are meant to do one thing: create clarity over time. Not urgency, not persuasion, not emotional release. Once I stopped trying to convince on paper, documentation stopped feeling like self-defense and started feeling like organization. And here's something important. If you've been told you're overreacting for years, documentation can feel like your only chance to finally be heard. That pressure makes everything heavier. This podcast exists to take some of that weight off. You're not behind. You're not bad at this. You are responding to stress, and stress narrows focus. Structure widens it again. Over the next weeks, we're going to slow this down together and replace panic with clarity. Before we close, I want to remind you of something important. You don't need to document everything, you don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to convince anyone with emotion. Calm documentation is power. If this episode helped you, you will find a full structured system in my guide, Clear, Credible, Court Ready. It's designed to support, not replace, your attorney. And if you want help turning everything you're documenting into something organized and usable, you can visit www.economocoaching.org to download my guide on how to create a clear, court-ready documentation binder. Take what helps, leave what doesn't, and most of all, take care of yourself. I'll see you next week.